This story is shared as a personal experience and local folklore. It is not presented as factual evidence or proof of the paranormal. Viewer interpretation is encouraged, and all events are described as remembered and perceived at the time. The lantern on Rockwood Mountain. When I was younger, I heard stories about a train tunnel on Rockwood Mountain. Stories about a lantern, about a conductor who never left his post. I didn't believe any of it until one rainy night when I saw something I still can't fully explain. Growing up, the Rockwood Mountain train tunnel was one of those places locals talk about carefully. Not loudly, not jokingly, just enough to let you know it had a reputation. The most common story was about an old train conductor, someone who worked the tunnel decades ago, who was said to still walk the tracks carrying a lantern. The tunnel is still in use today. Trains still pass through it. Maintenance crews still inspect it. That alone made the stories feel strange, because this wasn't some abandoned ruin hidden in the woods. It was active, functional, real. For years, I chalked the stories up to imagination and tradition. Mountain folklore has a way of sticking around. But one night, during a steady rain, my opinion changed. It was late, and the weather had turned bad. Rain fell hard enough to blur the distance, and fog clung to the mountain like a low ceiling. Sound carried in odd ways, muted one moment, sharp the next. I was near the tunnel entrance, not inside it, just close enough to see the opening through the rain. There were no trains scheduled, no vehicles, no reason for anyone to be working that late. That's when I noticed a light. At first, I assumed it was a reflection or maybe a modern flashlight. But the light didn't move like one. It swayed gently, side to side, the way a lantern does when carried by hand. As my eyes adjusted, I could make out a figure moving slowly within the tunnel. The shape was human, tall, narrow, dressed in what looked like old-style work clothing. The lantern hung slightly forward, casting a warm glow against the wet stone walls. What stood out to me most was the way the figure walked. Not hurried, not lost, but purposeful, as if inspecting the tracks. There were no footsteps, no voices, just rain and that steady, moving light. I stood still, trying to reason it out. Maybe a worker, maybe fatigue, maybe my eyes playing tricks on me in the rain. But then the figure stopped. The lantern lifted slightly, as if whoever was holding it had noticed me standing there. And then, slowly, the light began to fade. Not like someone switching it off. Not suddenly. It dimmed gradually, thinning into the darkness of the tunnel until there was nothing left. No figure, no glow, just rain and stone. I waited. No one emerged. No train followed. The tunnel remained silent. I left shortly after, not panicked, but deeply unsettled. I want to be clear. I'm not claiming proof of anything. I didn't capture this on camera, and I understand how lighting, weather, and expectation can influence perception. But what I saw that night matched the stories I'd heard growing up almost exactly. Stories I hadn't thought about in years. Whether it was coincidence, imagination, or something unexplained, I can't say. All I know is that every time I pass near the Rockwood Mountain Tunnel now, I think about that lantern and the idea that some jobs may never truly end. Growing up, I heard stories about the Rockwood Mountain train tunnel. Stories of an old train conductor said to still walk the tracks carrying a lantern. Like many local legends, I dismissed it as folklore until one rainy night when I witnessed something I still can't fully explain. In this video, I share my personal experience near the Rockwood Mountain Tunnel, an active rail tunnel with a long history and an even longer list of unexplained stories. What I saw that night closely matched the legends I had heard as a child, raising questions I've carried with me ever since. This video is presented as a personal account and part of local folklore. It is not intended as proof of paranormal activity, but rather as documentation of an unexplained experience for viewers to interpret on their own. If you're interested in true paranormal experiences, unexplained encounters, and real stories connected to haunted locations, consider subscribing for more.